The Lost Treasure of Serpent Isle. In a small, quiet village by the sea, there lived a young adventurer named Jack. Jack wasn't like the other children. He didn't dream of being a blacksmith or a farmer or a merchant. His heart yearned for something more, an adventure. Since he was young, Jack had listened to the tales of the old sailors who would visit the village. They spoke of a mysterious place called Serpent Isle, an island surrounded by a perpetual fog. On this island, they claimed, was a treasure, an ancient fortune, hidden away by those who knew the secrets of the sea. For years, these tales had captured Jack's imagination. He would sit by the fire at night, listening to the men speak of cursed treasures, and he would dream of one day finding the island himself. His grandfather had been the only one who ever tried to find it, but he had returned empty-handed, shaken, and with wild tales of strange creatures, and an island that seemed to shift and change. Still, Jack wasn't discouraged. One day after his grandfather passed away, Jack was given an old, worn map. It had faded over the years, but Jack could still make out the markings, locations, routes, and a symbol of an ancient serpent. This map was the key to the treasure, and Jack knew it. It was now his responsibility to finish what his grandfather had started. Despite the warnings of his family, the village elders, and even the fearful looks of the sailors, Jack decided to embark on the journey. He wasn't going alone. He assembled a small crew: Clara, a brilliant and skilled navigator; Ben, a fisherman with strength unmatched but a heart of gold; and Oliver, a quiet scholar who had spent years studying ancient texts. Each of them had their own reasons for joining him, but together they made an unlikely yet determined group. With a full heart and a deep sense of purpose, they set sail from the village, leaving behind the comfort and safety of home. As they sailed farther from the shore, the weather began to change. The sea became turbulent, and the fog started to roll in. Days turned into weeks, and yet there was still no sign of the island. Tension began to rise within the crew. They were exhausted and afraid. The journey had already taken its toll. On the third week, Clara stood at the front of the boat, peering into the mist. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, Jack," she said, her voice filled with doubt. "The map, it's leading us in circles. Maybe it's just a myth." Ben, always the optimist, tried to reassure her. "We're on the right course. I can feel it. The treasure is out there. We can't turn back now." But Oliver, the scholar, looked at the map and frowned. "Jack, something doesn't feel right. These ancient texts, they speak of storms, of unnatural forces that guard the island. Maybe we're being guided by something or someone." Jack, however, wasn't dissuaded. "We have to keep going. I know this map is real. My grandfather's last words were about the island. He told me to never give up." The crew sailed on, day after day, through storms and fog, until one night a bolt of lightning struck their boat. It splintered the wood, and they were thrown into the sea. When Jack awoke, he found himself washed up on a strange island. The others were scattered, but he soon found them, and together they stumbled upon the shore. The island was unlike any place they had ever seen. It was covered in dense, twisted trees, and the air was thick with an eerie silence. They knew that this was the place, Serpent Isle, but the island was not welcoming. Strange sounds echoed through the forest, and shadows flickered between the trees. "We've made it," Jack said, his voice shaking with excitement. "This is it. The treasure is close." Clara, hesitant, examined the map. I think it's through the forest. We need to follow the river." As they ventured deeper into the island, the weather grew colder, and the trees seemed to close in around them. The path was treacherous, and the air was thick with an unsettling mist. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon an ancient stone arch, covered in moss and glowing faintly with strange symbols. Beneath the arch was a dark cave, and Jack's heart raced. This was the entrance to the treasure. Inside the cave, the walls were lined with carvings and paintings of serpents, twisted and coiling in impossible shapes. The further they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It felt as though something was watching them, following them. At the heart of the labyrinth, they found a massive stone door. The carvings on the door seemed to pulse with a dark energy. They tried to open it, but it was sealed tight. They realized that the door could only be opened by solving a riddle, one that was written in the ancient language of the island. Oliver stepped forward. "I can read it, but the riddle, it's not what I expected. It says, to enter, one must give up that which they hold dearest." Jack's heart sank. What did that mean? His mind raced as he thought about all he had sacrificed to get here. His family, his village, his youth. But there was one thing he could never let go of. The map, the key to the treasure. Without it, they would be lost. For a long moment, he stood there, torn. Then, with a heavy heart, Jack stepped forward and placed the map into the stone slot. There was a deafening roar, and the door slowly creaked open, revealing what lay beyond. The treasure was not gold or jewels, but ancient scrolls, each one filled with wisdom and knowledge that had been lost to time. It was the knowledge of the old civilizations that had once ruled the seas, their secrets and discoveries written down in intricate symbols. The crew stood in awe. They realized that the real treasure was not wealth, but the knowledge that could change the world. Jack's grandfather had known this all along, and now Jack understood. The journey had not been about gold or riches. It had been about discovery, about understanding the world and its mysteries. They took the scrolls and left the island, knowing that they would never be the same again. When they returned to the village, Jack was not a rich man, but he was wiser, having unlocked the secrets of Serpent Isle. The villagers who had once mocked him for his dreams now looked at him with respect. Jack had brought back something far more valuable than treasure. He had brought back the truth. The end.